Alright, today what I'm going to do is a copy of a Zorn, and we did it last week, and I suggest doing it again. And just warm yourself up to the palette. The beautiful thing about doing studies like this is that, you can do them anytime. So I actually have some genuine vermilion. I'm going to actually put it out, and you can see just how low chroma that is in comparison to cadmium red. And again, just going to be general here. I'm not going to get into the weeds of having to try to see if I can get it to match perfectly. It's really to take a Zorn painting and Zorn's palette and see what we can get. Can we get what Zorn was getting? And I think, for the most part you can. And I'm going to show that I mostly can. And then I'm going to show, if I can't, what I would do. So let's get started here. I have just a flat Legion brush from Trekell, and just going to grab some paper towels. And I'm going to work from an iPad just because it's convenient, because the books are just too big. But if this were my, if I wasn't doing it for a video, I'd totally just do it. I'd just do it with a out of the book. All right, let's get the just general. It's so interesting because the feel of this is just so different. You can even see this is genuine vermilion from Michael Harding, and the color. It's almost like it matches what Zorn was using. But what's fascinating about this in relation to what Zorn is using is that he isn't going to be as timid as I am. That's one of the huge takeaways of working on a Zorn, is that Zorn just had a lot of gusto in his work. It's so hard to copy a Zorn because he was just so dang good at what he did that even if you could copy it, you wouldn't copy the mark making. I think there's something beautiful and unique about their work of artists like this that are just very unique to them. They're the only ones who can make these brush marks, and a lot of the time they're just very quick, and you just can't copy. You can't get the same thing. So you can even see it almost looks identical in color to what he had. That's why, I don't know, some people say Zorn had higher chroma red, and I'm always like, I don't think so. I don't think he needed it. So I'm going to just generalize with a color here. Just get the head as a very general. Don't get caught up in the weeds. Don't put his eyeballs in. Don't start with eyelashes. You don't have to do any of that stuff. I don't recommend you do. Of course, people can do whatever they want, but I'm just going to go for, when we used to do like a poster study, which kind of has the same name as so many things throughout art history. Could call it a color study. You could call it whatever you want, right? It's just the basic, like if I just went here and I didn't go beyond this, right? I'd just be like, that's good. That's the essence of the painting, and that's what I would recommend. Don't get caught up in trying to make a mini Zorn painting. It's so funny because a lot of the poster study comes from Ted Seth Jacobs through the French academics, and he even says, don't make little paintings. I'm even at fault to have done that to a degree, or do it now, I should say. But like that could even be a little bit too much detail. So you could even just go something like this. Now the interesting thing is, just like lead white gets kind of gobbled up, this is titanium white. It just gets gobbled up in this, you know. So gobbled up in the tinting strength, very, very low. So crazy. Even something like that would be good enough. But yeah, I'm gonna put a little more titanium white out because it's starting to already get eaten up into it. All right. These, I can't stress how important these are in the training of an artist. And not enough people, I don't think, talk about it because it's really what a picture is about. So do them often, and great way to even test out an artist's palette. If you find it and you do the research, to then say like, oh, that's interesting. This is his palette. This is what I'm going to use, and then see if you like it. But don't give up after one painting. Maybe that's all you do want to do. But there's also sometimes sticking with it, and maybe in that, I don't know, in the not feeling that, in the whatever the uncomfortable is, maybe that's part of it. Maybe there's growth. A lot of this stuff, in my opinion, should be introspective and beginning to always have having discussions with yourself. What's the direction I want my work to go? Am I happy with it? How do I keep on studying? That kind of stuff. So you can see that's a very interesting kind of version of his palette. So this is definitely green, and I can't get it. I'm going to just leave it for now. I'm going to see just what green I can get. Alright, let's just take this, and if you end up getting, just slap it on there. Again, the French academic tradition was to do these poster studies all the time. That's why I can't stress them enough to study them. I mean, I see the value. I think it's like the number one thing I've talked about for like all the years I've been teaching online, to just always do them. So what you're trying to do here is study just the fall of light on this. That's kind of it. Obviously, I'm kind of doing a master study at the same time, master sketch. But that's really why the information, I should say that the drawing gets put to the side, and it's mostly about the fall of light, the picture, kind of what we see. So it's pretty fascinating, even in something like this, how quite quickly it already looks kind of like him. Maybe you want to put I don't know, maybe that's too much. Maybe you get rid of it. You decide. Maybe it's wormy, I don't know. All right. Like vermilion, just it gets gobbled up in the mix here. But keep in mind, this is a translation from a book, something found online. How true is it? I have no clue. And notice how I didn't sketch out the whole picture first. And that's something I highly recommend. But you know what I used to do in the studio? Is just say, screw it, I'm going to come up with I'm going to try it in whatever order I want. And it's just a wonderful place to test out the data and see what you think. And you realize that there's a bazillion different ways to do it. And, is it holding you back to kind of stick in one way of thinking? Or would it help to kind of try this other way? Maybe it'll unlock something. So, anyway, stick with the Zorn palette here. The lesson is to give it a shot and see. Again, I'm trying to get close to what his mythical palette was. I call it mythical. It's probably somewhat true. But he also used a lot more, even as the museum acknowledges. All right. So down to that. Also, just feel free to experiment with whatever you want to do. Great place for it. Very low stakes to just do a sketch like this. Leave it. I mean, I'd say that he must have had like some kind of alizarin to get the colors in the cheeks and the eye. Just my 2 cents there. Alright, and then the fall off here. So this is a total kind of paint as you go approach where I'm just painting and letting it kind of grow. And again, this is something I used to try out all the time. Like, well, can I make it work? I don't think it always has to go in the same pedagogical order every time. Again, that's totally opinion, but I like to just spice it up a little bit, try a different theory. So to me, I'm like always just testing out all these ideas, and at the end of the day, I have the answers that work for me, and that's what everybody should be doing. Finding your order and what works for you. A lot of the time I think if somebody has like vermilion, they won't use it because they're waiting for like the rainy day where it'll be perfect to use it. I get it. But use it. Good reason to use it if you have it. Believe me, I've been there. Had Yim in blue. Well, I still have it. And I just didn't use it. Used it for the longest time. Until I was like, screw it. I mean, I have it. Why not? That blue and the yellow are going to be the only green you're going to get. spirits, loosen it up just a touch. Longer stroke. It's funny, it almost looks like he has an arrow or some bow and arrow or something coming up over here. You know, this is a painting I absolutely love. I used to have it printed out, and that's why it's like, oh yeah, that's what I want to copy. I've looked at it like a gazillion times, and then I always ask, like, why? What is it about it that I love? Just tone it down a little. How weak that is, right? Cad red light is so much stronger than that. Look at that. And I've used the whole pile of it. Just going to average this a little more. Put a little more out. Like Harding, genuine Chinese vermilion. Very weak. Very beautiful. So if you want, do a study. You can do a head study if you want. Do whatever you want. But take the palette for another ride. I recommend it. Or at the very least, just see if you can draw with a paintbrush. Always like mini lessons, big ones that we're working on, right? I get caught up in drawing a hand, but I'm not gonna. Yeah, that's the blue. The yellow. In the photo, it looks like it's pretty blown out. Again, different mixture for mixing with the Meridian. Like the tinting strength. Where's Cad Red Light? I'll pop Cad Red Light on in a minute just so you can see it. And just how chromatic. Here you go. Pop it on here. This is Cad Red Light. It's pretty chromatic. And to get it to be that vermilion, there you go. Add titanium white to it. See how much chroma that is? So you'd now have to cut it and keep cutting it to get it. But it's even high chroma in the lower mixtures, and it's sticky, and it's different on the brush. And then this, once you get over here, it's just like falls apart, and it's more of a push. It's like a soft color. So I liken it in a similar way to like lead white. I think vermilion is like the lead white. You know, cadmiums were introduced around the time of the oh man, what time was that? 1890, something like that. And I remember, I know Cezanne said he didn't want to use it, but it was still a question whether or not you wanted to or not. It wasn't like the colors came out and then just switched over. It was like, no, not Cezanne. It was Renoir. And he was like, no, it's good. You know, the vermilion works for me, and I don't need the strength of Cad Red. I don't think most people wanted that. So it's quite fascinating because I think it's just so easily switched out these days. I get the toxicity part of it, but um, anyway, I recommend if you're a nerd about it to check it out. Nerd about color, give it a shot, and you'll see it. Just like lead white is just totally different. I mean, can't understate that. If you haven't painted with lead white, if you only tried like flake or lead white replacement or something like that, it's not the same. Similar maybe, but wet into wet, hit that edge there. Can you get some of those marks? I remember doing a Dean Cornwall study, even at the museum, where some of his work was, and just copying it, and it would look like a copy, but it didn't look like a Cornwell. It was a different thing I was after. You know, I was trying to spend time with it, and there's the difference between that and then trying to have the mark making that Cornwell had, which I just couldn't get. And it just fascinated me. I was like, oh man, I know how to paint, and he's just doing something completely different than what I am, and it's just, you know, I could imitate it, but I couldn't copy it. All right, bring it up a touch. Bring this out. You know, in my opinion, I think that's there's a difference. Now, for me, the takeaway, of course, with this is that definitely worth it to work with a portrait palette like this. I think it really does lend itself to you know, simplifying information. Look at that, using like a eighth of the tube on a study. How could I? But yeah, I think see what your conclusions that you come up with are. You know, what's your take on it? The whole thing with that I teach is to be mindful of it and to think, really consider, you know, what do I think of this? I don't want to just read it online. I want to participate in the thought and the discussion. With that, add white and it just dies. All right. More ivory black. Sometimes that can be oily. See that mark though? The dragging of the stroke, the pulling. That's not something you can, like Zorn is doing something different because you see that in a huge stroke in his work. And if you haven't seen one in person, go see one and know what I'm talking about. There we go. now it's a little more potent. It really does feel like a fluid color. Yeah, it just pushes. Or pulls. Anyway, I don't expect everyone to go out and buy Michael Harding's Vermilion. It's a lot of money. Use the Cat Red Light, but just know that it's not exactly the same. So, it's looking pretty good. I'm going to keep going here. All right, so took a little break, and again, you're more than welcome to add a color here. I'm really considering maybe adding Prussian blue to the palette. I'm always up for like tinkering with a thing. Like, it's interesting. I get my variables. I think it's a nice painting. I think it's pulled over. Happy about it. My mom will hang it on her fridge when I'm done. But I'm going to add just another variable in here. And it's possible that maybe he played around with this color. I don't think it was found on his palette. I think he used Ultra. But I just want to show you something. Because there are many, Zorn died and he had a bunch of colors in his paint box. But this is Prussian blue, and this is Prussian blue with yellow ochre. You can now see this is also sometimes referred to as mineral blue, and according to that or the reference, I'd say that it's possible that right there could just be the green that I'm looking for, something like that. Now that balances the whole redness of the painting, in my opinion. I don't see any more green anywhere on this. Maybe you want to color pick it, I don't know. Go for it. But look at that. Now it's tainted because now I'm going to have to experiment. I'm going to clean it. I'm tempted to just take that into the painting to see what happens, but I'll try not to. Yeah, still a little bit. But, you introduce another variable. Maybe that is. And now there's just a little bit more to add to it. Now, this is mineral blue. It's sometimes referred to as mineral blue. Ferrous oxide it's an iron oxide. It will make it dry faster, and that's one of the things I like about paint. Is when we get into what are the pros and the cons of each one of these colors? I get into thinking about, I've tried this artist palette. Now I have an idea, maybe what they used. Can I tinker with it? And what are the pros and the cons of the colors that they're using? Are there any light fast issues? Stuff like that. And when it comes to Prussian, it dries really fast because it's an iron oxide. And to me, I love colors that do that. So that's a win-win in my book. Look at that. I still got the cat red over there. Yellow ochre. Let's see if I can get a little yellow in there. Balance all that. Alright, so Look at that. Just kind of dies. The color just drops off. Goes pretty neutral. You see the marks down here? Again, the drawing's not perfect, but that, like the dragging of that. Yeah, the wetness to it, just can't get that. So anyway, the master copy this week is a little longer. Take your time. Get a little more articulate. Take some risks. Still, I don't even know what this is. It arrows or something? Looks like he's got like a thing of arrows. Maybe he does. Maybe it's what about. I never looked at the name of it. See that stroke? You're aware of your own work. You can have little epiphanies, even if they were not what you were looking for. But maybe that stroke will come in handy somewhere else. About his mouth. Not that it has to be like perfect. Again, I almost don't want it to be. Get wrapped up in that. I think there's like a quote somewhere. It's like, now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good. Alright. Cool, interesting action going on over here. I don't know what the heck it is, but maybe the story and knowing it would help. I don't know. Maybe not. This is like an old sheet that I finished a painting and then cut it down, cut it off, mounted it. layering of the color. See what the color dyed? I can now go over the top and kind of place it on there. Get like a different technique for adding, because it just dyes like that. But then if you layer it, it's more than just a one color. Has that roundness to the form now. Wet into wet. Look at the way he even framed that up. Intentional that he put dark right there. He framed the hand. You've been framed. Take a risk. Maybe that's it right there. Also, fix the drawing as you go. Huh. Getting the form on there a little bit. Seems like there's a burly man. There you go. I don't know what it is in the back. Just a pattern? Definitely interesting. Hey, a stroke like that you can't get any other way. Or any other way that I can think of. Let's sneak a little of that green in. I actually think there could be a little in there. Maybe that's what it is. Just a touch towards green. Pulled through. Way he's framing that up. Good way to study composition too, do these. That's what's so wonderful about them. Yeah, I bet you it is. Green. key element. Can't forget the cigarette. Alright. And redirect that so it's more of a thumb. Alright, keep going here just to, again, maybe just keep going to satisfy the urge to make a nice little painting. You don't have to. Take note while you're in it and you're making the painting. What are your thoughts on it? You know, do you think it is useful? I mean, the question is not just to just do one, just because I told you to do it. Do you have a place for it? Or are you beginning to think about where it could fit in? You know, I think you can probably find somewhere, but maybe the next step is to take and do a painting, portrait or something, and see if you can pull this over. Not like go find somebody with a red coat and a green tie and do the same painting and call it the, you know, whatever, Ode to Zorn or something. I don't know. Unless that's what you want to do. Soften that. Black line or something. Take a break as much as you can. You'll see so much more when you come back from it. A little more ivory black. Keep making some small adjustments and then call it a day here. You can get some of the texture. Not that you want to go too far past the poster, but also you don't have to keep up with me. If I paint too fast for you, take your time. Go slower. Do it in twice the amount of time. Do it in triple the amount of time. Who cares? The point of this is to just use it as a lesson for yourself and learn how to keep learning. And master studies, I think, are just a fantastic way to do that. With that, if I didn't grab that Prussian blue, probably wouldn't have some of these colors. I feel like it's got that kind of minty push towards maybe blue-green or something. Light blue-green, maybe? A lot of the time over here on the palette, I feel like that's it right there. The marks on there, man, that's can I pull that over here? what that is. It must be arrows. Who knows? No. Glance left and right. Let's just maybe do one last thing here and then. Oops. Wipe the brush. Call it a day. Twirl the brush, rotate it, see about the marks you can make. You know, kind of, does it show that? Kind of feel for it? Make the hand gesture. You know, when grad school, I went to school for animation. There was a class called Acting for Animators. So you got in the pose, because I mean, if you're going to paint them, why not know the pose or feel it, so that when you're getting in it, you're getting into it, you know? So, no, I guess that's pretty good. Or I should just say good enough to stop. So let me just get this in just to pull this over. I think just call it a day. Alright, and now this. Look at that. Again, took the risk. Now the greens kind of influenced the rest of it. And wasn't quite sure at first that was right. But took the risk. What did I learn? Yeah, maybe Prussian could be a nice add to a palette. A simple palette. Yeah, maybe. Maybe cake it on? I don't know. There we go. Touch of green. Ties them. Maybe that's a bit of a risk too. I don't know. Again, too finicky? Maybe. Yellow button right down the middle. I don't know. Does that all matter? I don't think it makes or breaks it. Alright. There seems to be a touch of a dot or something on there. Just, yeah. Alright. Just getting kind of carried away here. I think that's fine. Again, I have had this up, so I'll probably pop it up in the studio and I'll look at it. And I encourage you to do the same. You know, recreating something like this, you know, one of the big takeaways is that you'll remember it. You'll remember making it. That's why it's different from than just buying a print and putting it up, which still has a lot of value. But if you recreate it, you're connecting back to the master, and now you have Zorn and his palette, and there we go. Zorn and his palette and a connection to the thing that you can now remember and decide, do I want to use this? What do I think of it? What are my thoughts? And my thoughts are, maybe I'll give it a go again in the future. All right, that's all I got.